I was talking with someone, a group of people that I was performing for recently, and it was just a small setting, and they asked why I write songs, and I said because I can't afford a shrink. And I think that's it is very much how I deal and process with what I'm going through, and I think letting some of that process show up in the songs this time around was a unique experience for me as a songwriter.
Well, what kind of I won't assume that like you're maybe a literal songwriter, but I mean, what were you kind of drawing from that you're conveying?
Well, there's been a tremendous amount of loss over the last few years. I mean, I was drawing from. It was a very difficult time for my wife and I. We've been married almost 14 years, and we had hit the most difficult patch in our relationship. A lot of the lyrics came out of that. It was a huge struggle, and it was really painful for both of us, and I don't know if either of us were very sure that we were going to make it through, and we seem to have weathered it. I feel like we're in a much better place now, but a lot of the lyrics were coming from that, and some of the lyrics came directly from my brother's accident as well. One of the songs on the record that we wrote together is called "Long Road," and some of those lyrics are very, very much, though not literal, very, very tied into what he was going through and his accident, and how it has transformed and changed his life. I also left over the last few years, I left the church. I had grown up in the Christian faith. My dad was a pastor, and I worked for a church here in Tacoma for years as their, I have a hard time even making myself say it now, but as their worship and arts director. And
what church are you? Do you mind saying? I mean, can you say, or?
I can say. It's painful. It's Soma Communities, who is associated with Mars Hill, who are moving to Tacoma, and who I am ashamed that I was ever associated with. So.
Okay. To put it bluntly.
The kind of hatred and tone and lack of acceptance that community, the Mars Hill community, has shown to women, the gay community, is absolutely appalling to me, and I'm ashamed that I was ever a part of it. I remember at one point having a conversation with my wife about us leaving and me resigning from the church, and she said one of the biggest reasons for her is she can't imagine having our kids grow up in an environment where our daughter thinks that she's less valuable than our son. And that was about the only statement that needed to be made for me to walk away. And at the same time, my dad, who I had grown up with as a conservative Christian pastor, it came out that he was actually a closeted homosexual. So to find that out in my 30s was pretty interesting as well. A lot of the lyrics and influence on the record came from that experience. We have a better relationship now, I think, than we've ever had. But there was a tremendous amount of hiding that went on in both my family and my wife's family. And I think that getting to the place where I didn't want to hide anything anymore, and I didn't want to judge other people anymore, and I was sick of feeling judged as well. And I think a lot of the lyrics came out of those things. So there was a lot of, loss of faith. We lost some loved ones. My wife's father passed away. There were just a number of things like that. Not to be totally Debbie Downer here, but there was a lot a lot of heavy shit that was happening all at the same time.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Over the last since the recording of the last record. And I lost a bandmate, not to death, but my good longtime friend and sister-in-law, Grace Sullivan, who has now started her own project. She was there in the very early stages of Goldfinch, and so to lose her as a bandmate was really difficult as well.
And what happened? Was that an amicable parting, or was it just like a...
No, it's still something that causes a bit of grief, I think, all the way around. All of those things, if I think too much about the lyrics when I'm singing the songs, I have a hard time choking them out. Like, every single time that I've performed these new songs, including in the studio, I have a hard time not just sort of losing it. So Cathedrals is going to be interesting to actually see if I can hold my stuff together for this one. And I think I will be able to.
Does that make you nervous, that aspect of it? I mean, not only just bearing your soul that way, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more nervous for the audience than I am for myself. I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that I'm an emotional person. I don't necessarily relish the idea of making an audience uncomfortable.